Yisham Mesech Trumas Daf Tzadik Vavam and Beis. The Nishmas Gitta Basavama Shchaim Yitzchak Dovigesh and Chaim Be'avam Yitzchak as Shimon Be'av Yitzchak. Learned in the Mishnah Nomad Aleph, Kol HaNechboshim Ze Im Ze Mutorim Elam Achisis. It's a very complicated Mishnah by side because we always know that Kovish is Areika Mavushal, as they pass in the Shulchan in Yeridea. Many sugyas like this in the Fulun. And here the Mishnah comes and tells us, as Kol HaNechboshim Ze Im Ze Mutorim. All the Nechboshim, pickled, marinated, all these things are mutter. Kol HaNechboshim. Doesn't matter what it is. So what kind of Yerok is, Bossa, Salsa Zel Bazach. The Choy the Mishnah. So to play Moshe in the Mishnah, Nomad Aleph, Mimina Yerokis. Now he limits it to only vegetables. Ve'echad shel chulin v'asheni shel truma v'torah. A vegetable for chulin and truma, those is mutter. Why did he say dafka vegetables? What it'll be, if it'll be bossa or something else? Shabal Zain. But al kaponim, that's the opinion of the Pnei Moshe. The Mrafuld in the Mishnah, Yerokis. So was achol and v'bosh zeh Yerokis. Chulin shenich b'shum Yerokis shel truma. Ein truma oises a chulin, the truma doesn't answer the chulin, vet mishkan shem truma. As I learned the Mrafuld. The Rash Cirilla, in the Mishnah, in the right column at the bottom, column v'bosh zeh kumpishte, balaz, kegoin, lefes, leek. Oh, so now he's limiting, and not all the Yerokis. He says, leek, which is a charif, a dov charif, shenoisim bechadel, put it into chadel, which is another thing which is charif, choimis, vinegar, ben shleimim, ben chatuchim. Doesn't matter if it's called the not, shroishe tadim, or ginsin, it's the shroshim, or the not. The kever shel truma. Chulin loishna ka'at loishna zeh b'shminon maslisen the davke meizeis niyel. Oh, so now the Rashi is forewarning us. What's happening though? Why this is mutter? What's also meizeis and niyel? When the Mishnah talked about in Tzadik Daled, that's the meizeis and mazayis. The charifi mivli it's charif. Mazayis is olives. Those are charif. He's arguing side of the Pnei Moshe and side of the Mrafulda, and he says that it's talking what's also only also zaysim. But other things that are not zaysim is mutter. But again, what's the din by bossa? It doesn't say what is the din by bossa. Sure. Look at the Gemara Omid Beis. Omid Beis, 4 lines from the top. Omer Rabbi Yochanan, less kan nechboshim. No, nicht the pshat is nechboshim. The gis is nicht git. And you have to be goyis nishlokim. Favos. Nishlokim, haltach Rabbi Yochanan, nishlak is something less cooked than nichbash. Nichbash is pickled, and nishlak is cooked. But the cooking is less than nishlak. The type of cooking we're talking about here is something less than if it would be pickled. Why? Kovish kirisachu. This is what kovish kirisachu domi, kovish kamavushal domi. That is by kovish. We're not talking about kovish like Rabbi Yochanan. The gis in the Mishnah of Zayin, Nishlak. Rav Chananya territory b'shem Rabbi Ishia. Rav Chananya had Galem Pshat in the Mishnah, Chosis b'chosis. If there was sharp, those things that we said before, about sharp, which is leek, and vinegar, these things are sharp. Those types of vegetables are considered sharp. Chosis b'chosis, min b'minoi. It's considered a min b'minoi, and it's also. Them Dr. Bekiva is matter, but Chachamim moisim. And in B'minoid is machlokes of Bekiva and the Chachamim it's also other mutter. So the Pnei Moshe less kan nechboshim. Like you see in Masnis and nechboshim and neshlokim. So all the kashas that we asked before, the Taisiyontiv, all the Mephoshim, they asked the kashas on the Mishnah. We can't say that the Mishnah says kovish gemut, kovish is mutter, I kovish is kirisa, kovish is kamavushal dami. So the Yochanan is in a shred, or that nishlokim. I will kovish b'melech, but if it was kovish pickled, b'melech and salt, kidisach, the mavushali, saltadim b'mavushal, and that's like also. The sholix feel Rabbi Yochanan, who pocha is mi bishul. This ep is weinige mi bishul. It's not the same intensity like a bishul. This is weinige mi bishul. However, chosses b'chosses shel teruma v'shel chulin v'hen min b'minoi. Why is it considered min b'minoi? Because both of them are sharp, even though it could be a different vegetable. But they're both sharp, min b'minoi, plukta de Rabbi Kiva Rabbanan. Those in the Mishnah, the Machlokes Rabbi Kiva and the Rabbanan. Tanakam the Mesilas and Chachamim the Rabbi Kiva. Tanakam says that like Rabbi Kiva it's mutter. U'b'nechboshim zeh might not like Rabbi Yochanan. That Nishlach, he has another way around the kasha. Kovish k'mavushul. He says what kind of mavushul? Nechboshim zeh might he can uschel Mishnah shalafenenu because min b'minoi alter Rabbi Kiva that it's matter. That's mutter. Because min b'minoi there's no tam. The same min in another min you can't feel the tam. It's the same thing. One and one. Put a banana in the banana. The taste of the banana is shtokanissa. Look them out, folder. That's kind of nechboshim on the left side. Lo nirgasim v'sis nechboshim the mutar. Nirbosh is not goyis in the Mishnah. And nechboshim pickled is mutar. What? What?
It's kind of flavor. It's kind of issa.
Yeah, but b'mina. You don't feel it. You can't recognize it. What?
It's better.
Yeah.
The banana shulshuma tastes different than banana shulhata.
Does it really?
No, it's a tam issa tasting.
You can't taste it. Banana is a banana.
It's the same flavor, but it's tam issa tasting.
Das steht doch als Mutter. Was ich achtung, das steht als Mutter. What can I tell you? Das steht als Mutter. I hear what you're saying, but das steht as also. That's the machlokes. We're keeping the rabbanon. You're telling me that pshat the rabbanon. Good. You're tasting something which is this, but you're saying no. Because you can't differentiate between the taste. Mekanish the canon, the chilik. So min b'mina, even though one is also, one is mutter, so he says, Rabbi Kiva says it's mutter. Chama say like you're saying, that the ma'isa, you're tasting it, is it? You can't differentiate it, doesn't matter. That's the machlokes type. Zogt dem Afulde, Loigasim Asis in Nechboshim, selbe Sache. He's not goyres in the Mishra Nichbash, Kovush again the pickling. Du Mutar, El Nishlakim goyres. You have to be goyres in the Mishnah Nishlak. The Kibbush, why? Kibbush Arei Kiris, the Kibbush, the processing of pickling process is more of a way of getting one tam into another tam more than Nishlak. Nishlak is in it. The Guru Ami Kibbush. Nishlak is cooked, undercooked, not as cooked as kovish, and that's why I say that it's mutter kol boshim mutar. Give him matter. Shein b'min b'minoi mishum nesinas tam. Favos shakol tam echod. You put two things together. One banana and another banana. It's also zabazak. Avach choymim oisin chom say that it's also. So the Gemara weiter. Rabbi Yasi b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Now, this is Rabbi Yochanan that says that Nishlak, you have to be going to Nishlak. Zok Rabbi Yasi b'shem Rabbi Yochanan, moinin chachamim, the Rabbi Kiva zok, min b'mino is mutter, b'bosa. However, Rabbi Kiva is going to be masking that if it was bosa, not Yirokis, b'bosa, shehu mutter. Bosa, b'bosa, shehu mutter. Says moinin chachamim, Rabbi Kiva, bosa. In other words, the chachamim, which argue on Rabbi Kiva, and they hold that what, the min b'minoi, if it's been nice and time, even though you don't feel the time, it's osir. However, with bosa, they're masking by mosa, it is mutter. One bosa is with bosa etta. They say that what? That it's mutter, and they hold like a bekiva. If you wouldn't have told me this, and then Rabbi Yasi, that the Chama masking to the bekiva by bosa, that it's mutter, ich wollte nicht gewiss. V'dim lo yisamet, not that the pshat is that the Chacham moed to the Bekiva. They said that it's mutter. Nein, punkt verkehrt. Moed to the Bekiva the Chachamim bebose shu ose. Punkt verkehrt. The bebose gives a tam. Even according to the Bekiva, it says mimi minoi is what is not ose because it's help a tam. However, bebose shu ose. If I say the reason is because you can't differentiate the tam from their boss, from their banana, and the other banana, and the zelbe zach, but enough committed eins is this and eins is ose. Zok tzachas mutter. So bezok was it bekiv by boss shu ose. Zok the pnei moishe. Rabbi Yasi b'shem Rabbi Yochanan moed chacham bekiv by boss shu mutter. Favos kloima. Rabbi Yasi kama deloi kidamon b'shem Rabbi Yochanan mikara deloi goras mosis nechbosh and nein. Going back on the beginning of the mission, don't say that we're not going to nichboshim. El nishlakim biu kom b'shmei the goras nichboshim. Look to Yasi, no, you have to be going to the mission as every shtei beins. And the gissa is that we're talking about nichboshim, and for them shtei as mutter ubechosis and chosis when it's sharp. These sharp vegetables like the loof and the cabbage and the botzel, these things that are sharp. Palig Rabbi Kiva. Demol look to Rabbi Kiva. Even by the chboshim is mutter, palag Rabbi Akiva b'svilei, the mutter, even when it's sharp, look Rabbi Akiva is a mutter, b'svilei the mutter, v'alo kama, moed cham Rabbi Akiva, the cham are going to be moed to Rabbi Akiva, b'bosse shel issa, shel heta, if you have one bosse, which is mutter, and one bosse, which is also, v'nich boshim zeh, and what they do, you didn't cook it together, you pickled one with the other one, shehu mutter, fabos, the svilei, the ein, kibish, kemavush. The reason why he says over here that it's mutter, nishbi altas tam min b'minoi, he holds that kabish is kemavush, doesn't agree, kabish kemavush, and kabish is not kemavush, and that's why it's mutter, not because of the time is, because it's giving it a time, not because it's giving it a time, but the kibish is not a way of giving in time, and that's kabish is any kemavush. Omer of Zeida, that be asim either is not to the adult even the dinner who came. Kloima, this is Toscha. The Svila that Rabbi Yochanan Kovish lo have a kemushal. If you agree with Rabbi Yochanan that kibish not kemushal, and you have to be goes in the Mishnah nishlag imkain. Lemai itzich loch leishmin hadol. Why do you have to tell me this halacha? You tell me kovish is not kemushal. Pshita dahachihu. If kovish is not kemushal. When the Chachamim are arguing on Rabbi Akiva and they say that it goes in a time from one to another is only by chosis, but nothing else. The hoya be'isir dabachar, because the isir was sharp. It's like like the leek and the onions. Who's svilei nois in time? Afilu b'kovish, even if all kovish latka mavushul, but if it's sharp, it's charib then yot. Rabbi Akiva says kovish not kemushal, and he also says af bechoses, even though something which is sharp, ava bosse isim bosse heta meheiche teise den esse bekibish. If it was isse bosse and a heta bosse, and they pickled it together, that's mutter. Why? If I tell you that what it's mutter, even by charev, which is charev, it has a tendency when it's very sharp. It gives a time one into the other. So then he says, by bosses it should be the same thing. Once boss is not more charev than chases. It looks like the way to transport things is when it's sharp. When it's not sharp, it doesn't transport the issa from one macha into the other macha. The Kurbish Lehave Kamavushal. Who says that the Rabbi Yochanan's opinion is that you don't say Kurbish Kamavushal. And he's only goes in the Mishnah and Nishlak. And Nishlak is also the Kurbish Have Kamavushal, because then it is transporting. By Nishlak we say that it's what it's also. By Kurbish you say Kurbish Kamavushal. By Nishlak it's not Kamavushal. And by Nishlak, Damos is other machlokes. The Chacham is really chas b'chas is also to give a mutter. But if it would be Kavish, it could be also. Kavish is more. If Yochan Hachi who to come and moeder, we give the Chacham bosse who also. He's moeder by bosse it's also. V'ashte shape itzlich l'shmin and avagav the pilik b'kiv b'chas even though the b'kiv is mechulik. When it's sharp, b'chas hanish lokim umishum the shaluk loy havik amavushul because shaluk is something less than bishul. After the Achim Maidu b'Basa Issa in Basa Hete Han Nishlokim Zemzeh. By Nishlak he holds that it's Sakosa. But Tama, what's the time of all this? Mishum the Basa who knows in time b'Yoyset. Basa has a tendency more than Yerokas to give in a time. We'd have the Shmina and Hochi have a minute Hafil b'Basa Palaga b'Kiva. But B'Shlukan will have a Kabishah. So he comes to tell me no, that Basa is something which is more. It's more effective to give a time, and that's why he said that it's only also by boss. So to Gemara weiter. Osir Rabavu b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan, right in the middle of the Yom. Osir Rabavu b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan. Moed Rabbi Kiva the Chachamim. Kiva is the one that said that it's mutter. However, the Chachamim boss shu also. If there was boss, it was boss. He's masking Yerokas not boss. Yeah, it's more potent and it gives off one and the other. Chananya Shomalei in the Basa Rabbi Kiva Makomas Basa says Mitorim. Kiva Takazoy Gezok Beferish and Abraisa. The Kolam is Bashlim Zem is mutter. All the Bishulim and the mutter. Chutz min ha-bosa. Bosa is more, and bosa does give a time one or the other one, even though it's min b'mina. A bosa b'bosa osa. Maybe what you learned is bosa is osa. All the other things are mutter. The moed chacham Rabbi Kiva, but bosa shu osa. Chananya b'shem Rabbi Rabbi Yochan, the moed chacham Rabbi Kiva, but bosa shu osa. So to play Moshe. Reb Chananya Chanina, he says, Shomalei bin the Basa, Kloimer. L'hodeh the China Lahu the Rabbi Yasa b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan the Vadai, Loi Kom Rabbi Yochanan Ochi, Moide Chom Rabbi Kiva, Ele Ibchem, Moide Rabbi Kiva L'Chachomim, V'ashlish V'ose. Rabbi Kiva is the one that said it's mutter. However, by Bose, Rabbi Kiva is masking by Bose that it's also. Rabbi Chanina Ochi, who did not like in the tree, safe in the Tony, Rabbi Kiva Mekalam is Bash V'Zem Zem Tony, Put Min Bose. Good the fish we must see. Rabbi Kiva, Kol HaYirokes Min B'Mina. All the vegetables are Madim from Min B'Mina hen. Hen shel Shar Yiseh V'Hete, Hen shel Truma V'Shel Chulin. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's Truma, if it's Chulin, if it's a vegetable, it's all Min B'Mina. Ain't in noise in time Zeb. And what? They don't give a time one or the other one. Afilu b'Muvisholim. So Kol HaMuvisholim are the Mutarim. All the vegetables are the Mutar. Why? Because it has a din of a time. Chutz min HaBosa Shem's Bashal Mayerek. Where you have Bosa which was cooked with Yirokas, or Shalisa, Osel Fisha, Bosa, Moishach, Tam, Hayerek Esed. The tendency is that by Bosa, it slaps the Tam in. A Bosa, Bebosa, Osa, Kloima, the Mishun, the Master of the Kibbutz, is very long, but this is the point is, by Bosa, it's more potent. As a slapped around the Tam. The Svila Ochi, the Bosa, Mekabalu, Tam, Hayerek, Shal Trum. Abu Chacham Pligalo, Abu Bosa, Hayerek. Chacham argue, even by Bosa, Hayerek, they all also, it's mutter, and they don't care that it's bossa. Ulakin lo bossa is in bossa at also the kulam mipnei shah bossa be bossa mekablim tam be yoise zemizeh vashti dochel lo hader biase. Now he's dochel. They ain't genam. The shamet le be the come by the kiva. Avoloike the amet. The reish ko yachas be chasas moed mem be bossa shumute. The vadel le moses amet could be liel the hochi kamina. The dumel isache el hochi moed chom the kiva bossa shu Kiv is moide by boss that also, but I know I say them as far as them the fishes. And I know Babu come in the behavior. Okay, so the boys we spoke about the night of Yehuda, and the reason why I couldn't find the night of Yehuda is because the Mishnah Shaina brings the night of Yehuda is the wrong simon. He says simon menvov, it's richtig, and the simon is really simon chavov in Medura Kama and the night of Yehuda. So the night of Yehuda comes here to answer Tais Yonta brings a whole bunch of kashas on the gist of the Mishnah. The gist of the Mishnah is that what Kol Anef Boshim Zeh B'Zeh is Matorim. Ganze Gemaras, it brings Gemaras and Mishnahs from the Bavli, which state Nishtazoi. So how could this Mishnah be correct? Zogt of them, the Noid of Yehuda, I'll get Tshuva here, but this one, a couple of words from the Noid of Yehuda would be not correct to go by without bringing in the Noid of Yehuda. Zogt as a V'dah. Just to listen. The B'chol Haloch is Macholos Esuz B'Rambam Le'mitzasi Boy Din Zeh the Kovish Kumuvushim. I didn't find Haloch of Kovish Kumuvushim. So when I saw this, right away I stopped right away. I said, what do you mean you didn't find the Rambam? The Rambam is right over here, Macholos Esuz. I opened the Rambam, and the Rambam says, and we saw this last week, Perik Tes Vov Haloch Tes, HaKovish Yerek Shel Chulin Yerek Shel Teruma Arei Zemut Lezoros. There's Beferish Mishnah, Beferish Rambam, Halacha Beferish, HaKovish Zenik Muvushel. Right? HaKovish Yerek Shel Chulin is mutter. Chutz Mimina Betzolim V'Chatzir V'Shumim. These are the things which are Charev. Then it is also. How can the Noid Yehuda say that it's mutter? It's not often a Rambam. That the Rambam doesn't mention it, and he mentions it right over here. Right? Okay. So in life you have to have patience. You can't go through the whole tshuva. Noid Yehuda talks about it. So, Moish Tzurim sagt er, the Din Zeh the Kovish, the Gemara Chulin Daf Kufi Aleph, Nechnu by the Shmuel, and Rabbi Yochanan, the Shmuel, Amma Maliach Harei Kerusel, the Kovish Harei Kemuvushel, and after that sagt the Rabban Nishta Zoy, said, I was the Kash from Tais Yonti, I have an offer to Gemara, how could the Amaroyim be Mechulik in the Kovish Kemuvushel, and I have an offer to Mishnah that was Kovish Harei Kemuvushel, and that's the Tais Yonti gefragt. Ufi Zeh, Ufi Kloli da Amaroyi, Allah Rabbi Yochanan, the Gabi Shmuel, it should be also. So what's going on? What's going on with this mission? If you let them shot the all believe you. I'm skipping around because it's too long for this venue. All believe it. The Tamai the Poiskim who Mishum or the Achme B'Shichvez Sham B'Avodah Zorah the Osav Rav or the Achme B'Shichvez Tzaynu. So he comes around. So he brings here the Rash. The din zeh sheizka Rambam dag tomei shekovshoy im dag tor kavanos amuske b'mishnah the Torah by Yud in the Mishnah. Meaning loy bottle. Then he says he brings the Rashi here beferish in our Mishnah maybe b'Yishalmi das harash beferish di b'Yishalmi זה לא שנרש במסניסן, לאחר שסקש הרש שם בכמה כולה שהזכרנו בכבישה, עלי כובש כמובושל. כוס הרש, זה לא בקש אותו יסוד זה, זה הרש, הרש את חריש. לכמה המסניסן לחגובים תמאים שנרבשו, רק יסדר את זמותה, sagt Amr Bjochen les kan nicht boshim el in schlagen allgemein now the kovish arei kurisa so Bjochen come to say you can't be goes over a kovish you have to be goes over in the schlagen why because of the kasha kovish kumvutel so khloima the sholig boshim mvushul mi bekol bos mashma the shlike hu tvei mi vishul I can say kovish les so up in the gemara that says just the opposite where by kovish it says kovish is it's nicht like but so khloima the shami palagal ha At kan the Shana Rash. Rash is saying, the reflects the Bavli in the Yushalmi. Uyois, ki koten ani, v'dal me'ov and divrei Rash. He says, really, I don't know the Rash. He says, the Heilig of Nani Buddha. V'kav v'choim, v'ben benoish l'kav v'choim, v'she'eni kedai lachlik al perusha she'rabbeinu Rash. I don't understand him, and rather I can't mechulik on him. Avotoyre hu v'lo min ha'yitzach, v'otze b'mil la'yuchal. He said, I can't hold myself back. He says, and I can't not say this. If the Yushalmi Kapirish Harash Shlika Bechusim Bishul, if you're going to say that Shlika is less than Bishul, like we just learned now, right? After the Pochas Mikibish, in Kain Kavonas Yushalmi Litaris Eich Efshe Shechagobim Tameim Lo Yasu HaToidim. How could it be that Chagobim Tameim should not Asa Toidim Aydei Kibish Kemi Bishul? Ufi zeh hoyle yesham the farish kena Mishnah Zion the previous Mishnah al shleimim b'tzuyim alay kovish k'mavushel kasher be'em sarash b'pirushay he holds that kovish is k'mavushel and if the yesham is going to learn like that so b'tzay how does it shlim the previous Mishnah that we learned v'zeh hevi yeshami u'mefarish be'em yeshami loy al Mishnah tesla chud koy de gesinan so ani toma he wondering here shema yeshami klolu kaila kol al mishnayis in Cain, or Hoyle the Sham the five Mishnah Zion that we don't say Kovish Kumushal, or you should make enough committed tradition, dog and Chagavim, what's going on over here? So at the end he keeps going on and on. At the end he says, and then he brings the Taisiyontim, the Allah Kushas. I'm skipping pages here, I'm from Lanka Chuvah. V'nira Lefini is daiti. Sagt der Neue Behude, Klal hadvorim hayoytzim mishnayis v'shviyis v'trumas. The rule is like this: She'ein teva kol haminim shovim. Not all the things are the same. V'yesh devarim they believe palti b'kibbush. Certain things they go with kibbush, and if you pickle them, they go on back and forth. The time v'yesh devarim they believe like palti b'kibbush. Hakel lefi teva hadvorim shal yidu lechacham b'mishnah. Depends on what kind of vegetables, depends on what kind of items it is. Book Chazibi Mishnah Pesach Shviyas, Perek Zayin, the Bein the Pirish Harash, Sheshemen Oisa Haveret, that's the veret, that's the like the rose, that's some kind of a tavlin. Bein Haveret Oisa Hashemen, Bein the Pirish Haramba, Haveret Chodesh and Oisa. Al Kaponim Afilim Mash Nesa Adei Kibish Lo Nizbai B'Mishnah Im Nesa Kuloi or Kedei Klipa. Who tells you everything is the same? Maybe it's only Kedei Klipa. Matter לפי זה ששמו ורבי יוחנן כולו ישבים בזה יש בי נסה בקיב ויש דבר שאין נסה ששום אחד אין מהם לא יחלק על המשנה nobody's בחלק on the Mishnah omnam somebody the Kiddush is saying it omnam the Mishnah doesn't say all this he's saying pluktayu b'hanad devorim shehida Mishnah aleim surim b'kovish so b'shmul the kovish mokum so he said when does Shmuel say kovish k'musul only on those items which the Tanoim will megal to us that it works that way. V'oise, Rabbi Yochanan Cholik b'sav v'shafil mokish oise ain't a k'mavushel. Ava v'masha mavuyi b'mishnah. She'ain't kain. The bein Rabbi Yochanan, bein Shmuel, it doesn't become moser. So it depends what you're talking about. You're talking about a zayis, you're talking about the davar charev, you're talking about other things, but not everything is the same. In kain mokel ha'akshes le'al Shmuel le'Rabbi Yochanan, ha'akshes mishnayis, the shviyas, und tut es mir selber Taisiyontim. Was wegen Taisiyontim der Kash from the Bavli? Sind nicht schwer von der Bavli, for was? But here we're talking about things. Steht in the Mishnah, Kol anech boshim zev zeh mitorim. So the Noidi Behuda, with his powerful psak, he overrides this. And he says, not all the same. Hayoysi lonum b'shekovish u'mbushel einoi klal l'chol hadvar. Aledi. It's not a rule. It's not a steadfast rule. It depends on what we're talking about. With Mishnah Yud, Perek Yud, this particular Mishnah, the Terumas, discussion Taisiyontim mioid bekame Mishnayis, ובכולם כישוסי מקויח קיבש כמבישל, ולדי הקל נוחן, דווקא בדובר, דמיינו בקבישה מקובש כמובן. When does it say? Only something which is helps kovish k'musim. Not everything is the same. Shom mishnechesh kol grash and that's the same. Yesh b'mishkot. I shom akaponim. That's the way around the whole problem. But like Yehuda, he says that it's not always the same. Depends what kind of items there are inside. I get into that.